My phone is on silent. Yes. Amazing. We're good.
Like, who's going to bother me? Who works at 12 o'clock in real estate?
Not too many people, honestly.
No, they don't start working until
Pulling
1:30.
teeth. Yeah.
3 o'clock. We could talk about that.
3 o'clock is when
it's
the sun...
odd hours, too, I feel like late at night.
Oh, my God. And then they post the picture on Instagram where it's like 10 p.m. still working.
Having
You just
brunch.
started.
But you started at 9. No, I have it, yeah.
So I guess that's our intro. Thanks for everyone tuning in. This is the Stuck in the Storage podcast. We have Ted G, the real Ted G, with Coldwell Banker. If you can just introduce yourself and who you are.
I'm the real Ted G. I have
G.
an actual name. It's Ted Gounelas. It's my license name is Theodore Gounelas. So on DOS, I'm Theodore. And I've been a real estate agent for about 20 plus years.
Wow.
August 3rd marked 20 years.
That's almost longer than I've been alive, which is insane. So we're definitely going to dive deep into that. So where did your journey start? How did you get into real estate? Where were you prior to real estate? And what made you kind of figure your path out?
All right, so it started in Manhattan. No, I was actually in school. I was getting my backup degree, to have something because I was going on auditions. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to move to New York. I wanted to be a big star. Everybody wants that, and not everybody does it.
Especially in the real estate industry.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot of people's fallback plan somehow. So I was actually in school to teach, and my parents. I also was working in my parents' diner. We had a diner for almost 20 years. I think 20 years actually.
Very nice. Where's it located?
Oh, it's Farmingville, and
Nice.
it definitely, and I'll go on record. I think your viewership is larger than mine, so I'll go on record. We absolutely had the best home fries, and I've gone diner to diner in Suffolk County, and I have found a definite number 2 and number 3 for home fries. But our diner had the best home fries, not just because I made them, but because I made them with love.
Well, now that I know you made them, you're going to have to bring some in and
I
share
have to do it. I'm going to have to, we'll go rent out a diner. I just need a diner with a grill. And I could just, start to finish, I can make breakfast. We did these sabbaticals before COVID. My broker would take us on these, I call them sabbaticals, but they were like excursions for like 2 or 3 days to Block Island. And my job was always, I was like, I'll do breakfast because I know how to do that. I don't want to be responsible for anything else. I don't want to, so we would have a house in Block Island for 4 days. It was kind of like a brainstorming idea session. And 2, 3, 4 magnificent ideas absolutely came from those excursions. So back to the diner. There we go. We sell the diner. We sell it. I think we probably closed. That was actually the first closing I was actually at because it was a cash closing, and I literally counted cash in the kitchen, and then that was it.
And it was nice and easy.
Yeah, owner financing and everything. Yeah. But they paid us off really fast. So there I am, summertime. It was kind of I was like, okay, I want to go get my bartending degree. I was already in school, and I had one semester of student teaching left, and then I would have, I guess that's called being certified. That's how much I know. I didn't pay attention. It did take me 5 years to finish my 4-year degree. So there I am, and I said, oh great, I'm just going to go get trained to be a bartender, and I'll just 10 bar in the Hamptons. I'll 10 bar in the Hamptons, and then I'll still go to like an audition here and there in the city, like last ditch effort, I'm going to
just
cast on
case.
Friends.
Yep.
So anyway, obviously my parents had a really big problem with me bartending. I don't know what they have against bartenders. And they said, anything else. And we had a good customer at the time from the diner. He actually is now a congressman, but he was a home builder. So they said, call this guy Rick. He was always nice. His building is right next door to the diner, and he'll say. I call him up. He's like, "Yeah, here's what you do. Just go talk to this guy." At the time, it was called Suffolk Blue Diamond, I think. And I go to this real estate office, and they tell me, "Yeah. So you'll have a cupboard, whatever, cubicle." And some agents do this, and some agents do that, and blah blah blah. No real support, no nothing.
They kind of throw you off into the wolves.
Yeah. Let me sign up for class. So I signed up for class. I do back then it was only 45 hours.
Wow,
so
now it's like what, 70, 75?
77 they made it. 77
gosh.
or 75. No, it's one of the two, yeah. So thank goodness. I all through real estate, I've had the grandfather clauses just at the end. I'm like, okay, now it stops. Okay. So I go and I sign up for classes. I'm in classes. My father, he says, "Hey, why don't you call this woman?" You know, she runs this little advertisement in what was called the Penny Saver at the time. If there still
Penny
exists.
saver, wow.
And it said full training, support, blah blah blah, and it had an exchange which was local to our house. I was like, okay, so I'd call, and thank goodness I did. The woman's name was Patty. Finally connected with her to do an interview, and they hired me. Now we know that hiring someone means, oh, look at that, I had a pulse at the time. But they actually did have standards, and to this day, she will admit, she argued with the broker to hire me. She wanted me. He, for some reason, said, young, no young person lasts. Why use our resources? Words that,
which are very common, honestly, in most
common.
hiring positions. I feel like the young generation has a very bad stigma, which, granted, we get it for a reason. Most people don't want to work, but there are the few diamond in the roughs that turn out to be the greats.
Yeah, so there we are. I get hired. Great. It's just too good to be true. Not that I made money immediately. It took me 7 months to cash my first check, but I had saved up money, so I knew what I was doing. But I'm having, a nice pipeline of business coming in, and so.
And what was it mostly back then? Purchases, or buyers, or was it mostly sellers?
Yeah, as a new agent, I think I listed one house in my first 3 months, and I listed it. It did not sell. It was a different market.
Oh, boy.
It did not sell, but in the meantime, I had buyers that I would take out, probably 4 to even, or maybe even 6 different ones a week.
And now were you doing the old school, like, snatch and grab the clients, literally pack them in the back seat of your car and drive them around to every single one?
I was trained old school. Yeah, I was trained old school.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, certain phrases are still in my brain. Don't logic with the humans, and it was very, very specific. When you have them in your car and you're going house to house, you do not speak about real estate. At least you could talk about the weather, you could talk about the radio station, you could talk about anything. Do not speak about, you do not know what you're doing, you do not know what you're saying. The people are guests in your car, and you don't say, oh, I thought that kitchen was small. No, who cares what you think? That's the other lesson. Nobody should care what we think anyway. So there we are, and I was having a great time with buyers. I sold houses. I had a nice pipeline of business, and that's why obviously I never did make it to teach. So
which blessing and a curse, I'm sure. Would you prefer to be a teacher? Well, I feel like you almost are a teacher now, just in real estate.
Right. Later on, you figure out that you kind of are a teacher. Well, now I'm technically a manager and I train agents, so that part. But I think you're always teaching. A good real estate agent. I have talk about like grandfather blessings, lucky, whatever you want to say it. I got the opportunity to learn from the absolute best in the industry. They're like, if I mention the people that I've trained from, they're like, that's impossible. They're not around anymore. They don't do training, but they did in my circumstances. They didn't go out of their way to do it for me, but I was just at the right place at the right time. That's how it started. And my buyers liked me. Well, my buyers made decisions and they bought houses. My mortgage referrals liked me. I was able to refer. There was a nice ability to get my referral partners a lot of nice business, whether they were attorneys or whether they were mortgage professionals. So I knew how to do that. But side note, a broker who was in the business, she was actually a really good customer of ours. We knew her since she was 14 years old. She actually had, by the time I got into real estate, she was on the North Shore. By the time I got into real estate, she had expanded to 3 offices, very successful. I still would still call her a young lady, because when we knew her, we knew her from the diner since she was 14 or 16 years old. Indirectly, I did run into her, and she was nice and pleasant. She kind of seconded. She said, "Oh yeah, you're learning from the best. Awesome." So
wow, that's very nice of somebody to say when it's like, all right, well, you're already taken care of. I don't want to step on toes, and if they can do something that I might not be able to, at least they're looking out for your well-being.
I remember from the diner, we must have given her 10 different deals.
Wow.
Because I remember someone said, "Oh, I want to sell my house. I want to buy a house," and I was like, "Oh, here, call this woman. Great, So I remember how people can get deals, by referrals.
And honestly, they're everywhere. Every single person that you talk to, in my opinion, is a potential lead. Whether it's at the barbershop, whether it's at a diner, whether you're walking on the side of the road, no matter who you go to, there's always going to be a connection there. And if you can keep that connection going, it might turn into a lead. It might not, but
Absolutely.
It's just the more people in your network and the more people that you talk to, it's just going to happen because it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
And especially with a diner, I feel like, I go to a diner with my girlfriend actually out in Cold Spring Harbor. They know the family, they know everything about them, and it's just very personal. So if you can tie everything in, it's right there. You got the tips of so many people. It's a great way to start. So now, as you progressed, when did you really start getting into the whole managerial position? Did you step away from sales? How was it managing both of those things at once?
Well, I kind of wanted to manage in the worst way.
And why is that?
For probably like 5 years. And I was not given the opportunity for 5 years. I was doing it, but I wasn't really like in name and title. And, everyone wants a title. I know I'm not a millennial, but I want a title just as bad as they do, I guess.
Of
course. But I was happy with, my brokerage at the time was Coldwell Banker. So I became part of Coldwell Banker 3 years into the industry. So I got to experience an independent brokerage, a successful independent brokerage. It's unfair to call them a mom and pop shop because they were like the number one or number two office in the market area. So, but then 3 years in, I was not shopping around, but I was craving something. And then suddenly we were bought out by Coldwell Banker, by the local broker, Mike. And suddenly it was like, wait a minute. Oh, maybe that's what I was craving. It was nice to have a little bit of a name recognition. It managed to make a slight, a definite impact in my business. Maybe it was just my whole confidence level. You have something behind you.
Of course, and a brand is something very important to have behind you because it just rings bells.
So 3 years in for that, I was probably top producer. I forget if I was the top producer by volume or by, they do volume, they do commissions, but I was definitely
I know on your listings it was definitely GCI. Might not have been volume, but definitely GCI.
Yeah, and I was getting referrals, and so I can't say that I was absolutely number one, but my good friend always said, you don't want to be number one. Everyone guns for number one. You want to be like number two or three consistently, but I listen. I was the king of my market area.
The king of homes.
The king of
Long Island homes.
Well, now I'm actually the king of Long Island real estate, and I've never set the record straight about what that means. People think it's just an ego thing. No, there's supposed to be a second tagline underneath that. I just don't know how to fit it in, but I will when I do the main postcard. It's King of Long Island real estate, where my clients are treated like royalty. Like there's an actual side note, side swipe on that. No, I was the king of Shirley. Let's just face it.
Got it. So is that where you farmed? That's where you started your farm?
That's where my farm farmed me.
I see.
But that's actually where I grew up as well. But I remember having 40 or 50 listings at any given time, and obviously a big percentage of them I think I had. So there were four. Yeah, so I would have had about 6 to 10% of what's called market share. There were probably 400 homes on the market, and 40 of them were consistently mine.
Which is honestly unheard of, because when people talk about farming an area, they want 1 or 2%, not 6 to 10%.
Really, the goal is 30%.
Well, if you could do that, then that would be absolutely insane.
Like 30% market share. Actually, one of my agents currently, the one that we just recruited into our company, she actually has 40% market share in her two market areas. Medford, there's an area in Medford Pines, and the Holtzville neighborhood where she actually lives. Because out of the 10 homes that have sold in the last 12 months in that market area in Holtzville, 4 of them are hers. Actually, it might be 6, but
wow.
I won't brag.
Yeah,
I love bragging for other people.
No,
I like bragging for me too.
No,
So and then in the Medford Pines, similar results. So she actually has way more, more than 30%. 30% means that if someone's going to be looking for a real estate agent, they absolutely have to deal with you in some way.
At one point, whether they're seeing your signs on the road, whether they're getting the mailers, whether they're door knocking.
Yeah.
And
like they're stupid if they don't talk to you.
I agree, because why not hire the expert in that area to get your top dollar?
Yeah. So I've tried to expand it to be a much more universal term for myself, King of Long Island real estate, meaning that it's not just about selling in one specific town. I took real estate to a little bit of a different approach, where it was more about the transaction. So it's about my knowledge of the transaction, my knowledge of negotiating. I was recruited once. Only once so far. No, only once. It was a really fun, headhunter. He reached out to me. Like, they literally said words like, "Oh, sit down with us." And this is also like the heyday of like me. I got an award for the most listings taken in Coldwell Banker.
Wow.
I think either the Northeast or the Eastern. So I believe it was like a Northeast kind of,
Like it's
all
like
the
a region,
offices,
it's all
all
packed
the
in, it's
affiliate
almost like
offices,
Cardinal.
and it was 90.
Yep.
I think it was 97 or 98 listings in one single year. 2008, incidentally, the same year that I was approached and attempted to be recruited. And they said words like, we're going to sit down and make you an offer you can't refuse. I think that's a little scary in general. But
It is.
But I remember that I've always had a knack for a little bit of a one-liner, because it's if I did a TV show, I would really like a comedy, or at least a regular show that has like comedic takes, like Suits, where there's
There's
an
always
80s
like
pun.
that little
It's like a 90s pun somewhere,
Yep.
right? So I remember that the guy, the owner, and he owned most of a very main road up north, and he said, "Do you think you could, list homes here?" And I said, "I could list homes on the moon. Like, that part's easy,
As long as you have that structure and
if
that
you know
follow-up procedure, then you're
and
set.
if you know if you know the transaction, you know the procedure, the transaction. That is what agents should be focused on. Not, it's great to know your market area. Oh my God, I have a different campaign that says know your numbers, know your market, know your numbers, know your agent. And I'll unveil that in the upcoming months. And you should know your market. I mean, I actually do know my markets. I know the three markets that we're focused on. If you said how many houses are on the market in Sayville, yeah, there's 12. 12 houses are on the market in Sayville. It's a lot easier to remember these numbers than when I first started, where there were about 222 houses on the market in Sayville.
And it's so crazy when you started, there was 220 houses in the marketplace, and now there's only 12.
Yeah, and so Shirley we used to have about 400 to 450 homes on the market at any given time.
At any given point.
Yeah, and I had like 40 of them, 35 to 40. Okay. Nowadays, there's 45 houses on the market. And I just think about that. I would think, can you imagine if I still had 40? Then this would be like,
you'd really be the king of Shirley.
Yeah, you really would. I wouldn't even have to wear the crown around town.
Right there on, what's that road?
William Floyd Parkway,
yes,
Montauk Highway.
Yep, exactly.
Incidentally, one of our office locations. Yeah.
Very funny.
Yeah. So anyway, what was your question?
So it was really just how you got into it and everything like that. So that's exactly that was exactly what you answered, which was perfect. Now, you asked me a good question a couple of weeks ago, and I almost want to ask it right back to you. How long did it take you to know that you were great or an expert in your craft? Was it right away? Because I know you said right, like in the beginning, it took you 7 months to sell your first home, right? Now, some agents walk in right away and they can either get lucky right away, or it takes them a year, 2 years. I know for me, it took me about 6 months, 7 months myself.
I think the real question, that's a great question, actually. And so I believe in, I read a book called Outliers, and it has to do with 10,000 hours. So I don't know when I clocked in 10,000 hours that I knew what I was doing. But that doesn't mean that I believe that I was great at real estate. I think it was right around 2003, 2006. It had to be sometime in 2006. We brought in, we went to a training seminar, and it trained on the approach to listings, Now, I think I was complimented before as well, like people said nice things about me. And I remember going to that seminar, and I remember the speaker, the trainer, he kind of went out of his way one afternoon. It was probably like a 4-day seminar, and he said, and I don't know, maybe I must have still looked young, because I was. It's easy to look young when you are. It's hard nowadays. So there I am, probably looking, every bit of 25. Maybe I was probably 26, but maybe I looked a little younger. And he came up to me and said, "Oh, Ted, stick with this. You have a nice way about you." He was very soft spoken in his training style, but he always had a moment where he would actually like lunge, and I don't have those moments usually. If I do, people will start running scared. Yeah. So he was just always soft, and he was like, "You just have a really nice way about you, stick with it." And I guess maybe he was just talking to the industry in general, because a lot of young people I don't think a lot of young people stick with it for the wrong. I think people leave the business for the wrong reasons, People get into the business for the wrong reasons, and even with the right reasons right in front of them, they don't stick with it. It's amazing. So I think that yes, it happened about 4 years in. I had already gotten like some awards. All that's all cool.
Of course.
But it's when you start getting, if someone says, "Oh, we interviewed 4 other people, and they were, you just have more knowledge," and that's I went out of my way to have that knowledge, because you have to learn. It's like it doesn't just happen. You have to learn. You know it, right? I mean, I can't do mortgages.
And I can't do real estate.
You guys were talking to me about some numbers. We're going to make some miracles happen, actually, for a few of my clients. 3 in particular. Like, everybody wants to buy $1 million house right now,
which is insane, because some people can't even afford it, but they'll just throw themselves in and hope the future is bright. It's
But you guys were talking to me about numbers and this and that. I'm telling you, you might as well just juggled up my brain and like put it on the frying pan. It just didn't. I was like, I'm listening. I'm looking like I'm listening. Just like.
Well, listen, you had us fooled out there 5 minutes ago. It sounded like, it looked like you had everything under control up here.
Well, you got to look the part.
Of course, of course. And do you believe in faking it till you make it?
Yeah, I really do. And I don't know if I ever did it though. See, I tell people all the time, don't do as I say, not as I do. And the other thing that I learned recently, like in the last 5 years, when I'm training some of these agents, and it's, wait a minute, do as I did, do not do as I do. There's a big difference of someone, how some, I can back up something, and don't fake that part, but at least fake the work. What I did was worked, 70-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks probably. I did it. I don't know if anyone else does it anymore.
No, there are still some people out there, myself included, but I love what you just said, because it's do as I did. So do what you did back in the day to get you to where you are now, but now you can kind of put everything on autopilot and still work.
It's not even autopilot. I'm 40. I'm in my 40s. I lie about my age all the time. I'm in my 40s. A 22-year-old, so I have three agents in particular. I have a 19-year-old. It sounds like I'm telling you my kids. It's okay. The first 10 years in Patchogue, I had 65-year-old kids. So I have a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old. Oh, it's going to turn 21. And a 22-year-old. And it's like, wait a minute, you can't fake this, because I'm 40. You shouldn't be repeating 40-year-old me. You got to be repeating 22-year-old me. And 20, you should really repeat 26-year-old me. He had it going on. The only thing I didn't know back then was you have to apply for these awards. Like, you have to go out of your way to apply for like 30 under 30.
Yeah, which is crazy. I thought that they would just pull a public record and just reach out to you, but apparently it's just as simple as sign the dotted line, and you pay a little something, and then you get it.
I also found out that's how the Oscars go.
Really?
Like, it's not like, oh, this performance is amazing, so they're going to nominate you. You have to campaign and do. Apparently, I don't know why I know all this stuff, but I do.
Well, that's pretty cool to know, because I had no idea. I genuinely thought that they reached out to these people and were like, your show is spectacular just off of the public feedback, and then you get nominated. But
no, all these awards.
It's all people going out and saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. Wow.
Yeah, because there I am, about 31. Literally 31 years old, and we actually have one of our colleagues. She qualified and made it to 30 under 30 for the National Association of Realtors, and really great. But we realized it's all about application. Putting the application, doing the numbers. Focusing on making yourself a strong resume. And my friend, my good friend Janine, she turns around and says, "Who knew? You could have done this when you were 26. I said, yeah, I could have, but instead I worked.
No, I agree. I never want to live in like the limelight or the spotlight. I like to be, like you said, that second or third person. The person at the top always gets the most heat, the most pressure, everything like that. I just like to stay right in my own little lane and work hard, keep your head down, and move from there. The reason why I got into the business, is not to really be put on that spotlight. It's just to do what I want to do what I love to do, and just keep it pushing, which is great. So now, how long have you been managing, and what are some adversities that you've went through in managing?
Well, let's see. The adversity
I know you can go on for hours, so let's go.
Let's put this on. Okay. Speed it up. Reader's Digest version. Yeah. Well, now you know how I feel. So let's see. So I think we're coming up on the 13-year anniversary. It's either the 12-year or the 13-year. So I started officially managing on paper with the title and everything 12 or 13 years, maybe 12 years ago in Patchogue. And I liked it. I liked it, and I liked we took an office that had 6 agents working and 20 transactions completed the year we took over, and we took it within, and I say the word we because it is always going to be a team effort.
Of course.
Knowing how to pick your team, now that's
yes.
yeah.
So that's a completely different story.
And we took it from 20 transactions that year to within 2 years we were at 200 transactions and 42 agents. So, but along the way, the adversity, I have to say, I was lucky. I appreciated all the agents. Some agents did the best they did ever in real estate. We recruited new agents. We recruited, brand new licensees. We recruited existing licenses. A couple of nice stories that I like to repeat. One of the recruits, she was pretty much out of the business, had done maybe 4 or 5 transactions the previous year, and we grew her business to be the best years she ever had in real estate. And she grossed crazy level award, and she did it by working less than 8 months in the year.
Wow.
Florida vacations, and that's part of the team. We were there to help, and I enjoyed it. I enjoy all that, and then so for the first part, I really did take a back seat to actually listing or selling, and then things happen. People get recruited. People have strokes. People, I was at a recruiting seminar, and the guy was giving us his sob story. I was a manager, and I had my agent say, "I'm moving to Florida. And so had, got hit by a bus or something." And I said, hold my beer.
Ready for this one.
I took an office that was 0 and made it number 1, and that just as we're all flying high. That's when the recruiting happens.
Of course.
I tell people all the time, people tell me I'm a good manager, but I'm a bad recruiter. Like I don't sell people on like shit. Like I see when my agents are recruited, and the easiest way to recruit an agent is obviously on ego. I had one agent one agent was told, "Are you going to be in Ted's shadow?" Well, trust me, you can never get out of it.
Once you're in it, you're there. And honestly, it's a good shadow to be in, especially just because of your story alone.
But adversity, that would be it. That would be it. But even that, like I hate to sound like a weird hippie guru or whatever. Even that isn't adversity. It's learning. Like that made me better. Not better that that people can't get recruited. It's just better that I know I can bounce back. I know that we can go from 0 to 1, and we can go all the way back to 0, and I can still get all the way to 1. And that's what I do try to teach agents, but mostly the younger people, and I'm not sure how easy they grasp it. It's the learning process that makes you the good agent. It's not the sales. Of course, the sales should bring learning, but some agents do make sales and they don't learn. I don't know.
Even in this industry, you have people that know every single guideline in and out, left and right. They could bend over backwards and make any file work the right way, and they have 0 transactions. But then there's people that don't even know how to spell FHA, and it's 3 letters, and they have all the sales in the world. So
I've seen agents that are considered very top in their field, and I've seen their sales binder filled out, and I'm like, wow, the numbers don't add up. It doesn't make sense. I just don't even know where that comes from.
Of course.
So it's not about sales. It's about the learning. And if you do the learning and you get to the top of a field, then you can always get there. And that's I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure there's a sports analogy, and sports heroes would probably tell you the same thing.
Yeah, no, and it's just like everything else though. And I like what you said, where if you can get to 1 and you go back, you'd still get back to 1, because most people would quit if they go back to 0. It takes a real hustler to get from 0 to 1, back to 0, back to 1, maybe even to 2, then back to 1. But that's just the game of life.
Yeah.
Now, you said that you turned somebody around in their business completely. What did you do, or what are some of the tactics that you guys offer, even yourself offer, that make you different than somebody else?
A lot of it is something that could be called little things. but
Little things add up.
yeah, they all add up. I can't perform miracles. But it was the little things, the reminder. I had one agent who had never spent any money on marketing, and she consistently door knocked. So she always had to go out and like hunt for business. That's a hard way to do it.
It is.
And so when she obviously made a turnaround, and I was like, here's what we're gonna do. I'm sorry, you can't make $400,000 and think you're not spending anything. That's impossible. You should reinvest in your business. That's something that I'm shocked at how many agents do not reinvest. And by reinvest, I don't mean marketing. I don't mean you have to spend $10,000 on postcards, and I don't mean you have to spend $110,000 on ads or billboards. I'm saying I've seen agents like buy a fucking new computer.
Yep. Or you're gonna buy a new phone.
You're kidding me. Like it's like same agent that might maybe made over $100,000. It's like that's called investing too.
It's in technology to make things quicker, more efficient, easier.
Pay for a sales course and go to it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, what we I have no background in real marketing. I just know what comes naturally, and I said, okay, she's kind of cheap. All right, so I said, here's what we're gonna do. You're going to spend, I did all the math on these EDDM routes. And I said, okay, this is the cost of the postcards. This is the cost of the EDDM routes. Your total cost is going to be $2,500 the whole year.
Which is amazing.
1 year of marketing. And it worked. And for $2,500, where I know our competition, I know agents that spend 20 and 30, and good for them. And there's a return on that. I know agents that spend 400 to get 200. That's not a return.
No, that's a loss.
Those agents don't work for me because I believe in trying to make sure my agents are cost effective and working to their best potential too. Oh, so anyway, but mostly it was about the little things. It was about the little things about keeping them going. I think the biggest mistake agents can make is not being in an environment that they're reminded that this is work, this is a job, this is a career. And my job as manager, first 6, 7, I mean, even now, obviously I'm in the office often enough, I would literally just sat behind the desk, and maybe they came in with a problem, and most problems we can solve. Some problems we can't. My deal is dying. My deal, the mortgage, the guy can't get a mortgage on a pen. No one knew about it. Okay. But that's the little things, and sometimes it's just a nice thing to be able to just talk to someone. One of my agents, she's actually still with us. She had said to my boss, oh, it's just nice that he's there. Like, they didn't have that before. So, they didn't become, they weren't low on the totem pole with 20 transactions because they didn't try, or they didn't want to try, or they didn't want to succeed. They just didn't have that same kind of support, just a regular support. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that I've seen in an office. Try to get a culture where it's easy to come in, and it has to be as convenient as possible. I agree. But then again, it's called a fucking career to make 6 figures, right?
I agree.
How convenient is it? I don't know. I know surgeons that probably drive to Manhattan every day, right?
And they make 6 figures, yeah. Now, would you want to do that, or would you want to just go sell houses and do maybe a couple things that make you a little bit more uncomfortable? And it might be a little slower at first, but when you think of a doctor that makes $500,000 a year, they went through 10 or 12 years of schooling, then they made 50 grand, then 60 grand, so on and so forth, to build their pipeline, so to speak, to get to that higher paying
School
job.
teachers despise their jobs sometimes. And they know they have to do it for 30 years, right? Depending on which tier they actually got hired on. Now I heard that it's gotten worse. That some school teachers will have to work till 70 if they want full.
And I'm pretty sure they're taking tenure away. I'm pretty sure when I just started school, my mom was like, try to be a teacher 3 years in, and then you're good for life.
And listen, teaching is a great field. I think it's definitely unsung heroes, although I think we all know how great they are. And they can be. And they might hate their job for the first 10 years, but then there's a salary increase on year number 11 or year number 12, whatever it is. And then it's like, okay, wait, I have a great client. I actually have several clients that are school teachers. I have a great client. She's a school teacher. She's upgrading homes as we speak. She's just awesome. But she's also gonna retire and have a big chunk of, if 50 is the new 30, she's gonna have her whole life ahead of her, and retire so nice and young.
And they have good pensions, forever benefits, 401ks, the whole nine, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned something else that I think is really cool to bring up, because especially in just this office and our team as well, hiring. what do you look for when you do hire, and are you more picky, or are you just looking for anybody with a pulse? I think I already know your answer, but I kind of just want to build that content up for you.
I can't say that I'm not picky, but I'm also willing to give anyone a chance, a second chance. We've all had second chances,
of course,
and I appreciate all the second chances I've had, but I think the people that gave me those second chances appreciate it too. So
it's give and take.
Yeah. So no, I actually and I'll tell you from now, the only people that I don't go out of my way to hire, or actually say I actually have said I will not hire them. It actually is someone came into my office and said, okay, I've had 3 transactions in the last 6 years, and how do I get 100% split? So I said, well, you need a lot more transactions so you can get your broker's license, and then go ahead and work out of your house.
Yep.
Okay.
Agreed.
That kind of thing, like, I've had agents that came into my office and said, I want to be on a billboard. No problem. Here's how I got on a billboard. I have a client who said, here, put your face on a billboard, because I sold him his first house 20 years ago, and I sold 1,000 houses since. So that's great. I don't mind that. I don't mind. You never know. Like, I think you can never tell. It's like, this is a horrible analogy. This is like Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears all over again. Like, everyone would have put money on Christina Aguilera, and I know she still has a career, but Britney Spears is like a crazy famous name. It's like the old school. We'll go back to the 80s. That's like, what is it? Madonna and Cyndi Lauper. Both have careers, but now I don't know. But but still, someone is like a uber like billionaire.
Of course, then it would be the Madonna.
Yeah, and you can never tell. I think with real estate agents, I always had this weird thing in my head that I said 1 out of every 7, because I remember like if we said we had classes, like when I first started real estate, I was hired as part of an additional 7. Now, the additional 7, the group of 7, they still are in real estate. Some people they actually probably still work in my firm, but I don't know, they're not me. So if you had to say there's 1 out of every 7, I feel there's 1 out, and that's why you can never tell. You can never tell where the diamond is. So I definitely don't discount anyone. The only kind of person that I can discount is someone who flat out says, I don't have any experience, and
I want it all,
and I want to have your job. And
makes sense. Like, yeah. And I feel like I would rather sacrifice money for experience and growth, because then eventually, if you grow with the same people and you work with the same people, there will be that opportunity to get to your 100% split, or your a very good chunk of that margin, whatever it is. And without that help, everybody, the more...
I think my fantasy office, like, if this was fantasy football.
Fantasy real estate.
My fantasy real estate office.
Real estate office.
Here's what it would be. I would love to be able to say, okay, here's what I want. I want 10. And this would be an office that would dominate. If I did this right, 10 people, everyone on salary. I also know that there's things in real estate, for some reason motivation doesn't occur then, but obviously there should be bonuses and everything. But can you imagine 10 people with crazy good salary? So now all your headaches are gone. Well, all your headaches, at
all
least,
your worries.
Yeah, that weight, but you have to dominate. Like, it's not like, I don't want 110 agents. I'd like 10 that each have 30% market share, that each do over $1 million, but no office has ever been built like that. And 10 people that not know the industry inside and out, 10 people that could do my job, 10 people that could do the person who knows 10 times more than me, mine job, like that kind of 10 people. And but obviously everything comes with a cost. So that would be my fantasy office. And I don't know why, I just feel like I just want it, like, everything streamlined, everyone professional. It's all business. People underestimate that this is business, and people start acting like it's not business.
Got it. Yeah. And the last question to really wrap this one up, it gets a little sentimental, so please go as deep as you want, or go as shallow as you need. What is your why in the world, and what made you keep pushing and striving to become where you are, and to get up every single day and keep going through it all, the goods, the bads?
Thanks to the Tony Robbins seminar. That's it. Tony Robbins taught me to hydrate. But he also taught me that the one thing I got out of it was it is worth it to be the best version of yourself and make it worth it. Figure out and make it worth it. So since then, I exercise more. I exercise a lot. I exercise more. I don't watch my diet, but I will try. And I'm just motivated to be the best version of myself. And when it comes to why, I think it's just about setting goals. I want something. I wanted a house. There was something I wanted. I got it. There was, everyone goes through tough times financially. It has, as much as I say I'm lucky, I'm still life.
Of course, life is.
Yeah, we've all had instances where financially not, pleasure cruise, and so I do not want to be there ever again. So that motivates me. That's my why, is to be comfortable, to have a nice comfort level. And then my other why is I like what I do. I like it when I have motivated individuals around me, and I know their why, and let's figure out how they can get there, and let's figure out if I'm the right person to help them.
Of course.
Yeah.
So if you want to wrap it up, drop socials, drop everything that you can, so where they can find you, and then we'll cut
Do you
out.
think everyone should know where to find me?
I think so, but
They
if
can find me
forgot,
at 66 Bedford Avenue on a daily basis. I'm the Real Ted G. So I have the Real Ted G podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and then of course I'm on Instagram, the Real Ted G. I'm on Facebook, the Real. Well, that's my business page, but I'm Ted Gounelas. And did I miss anything? No. TikTok, and of course I'm on TikTok. So I'm gonna probably get more on TikTok. I'm gonna have to do some dance moves.
TikTok is one.
Maybe my new
platform.
hiree will teach me how to do the Barbie dance.
He is good at that. Good at that. And Luca, if you're watching, you are going to help Ted do the Barbie dance. And with that note,
My most recent hiree.
we're out.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.